that's what I was like. Chairs when you go 8 months.
Can we have all of the mayoral candidates come up and take their seats on the stage? We'll begin in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
Just go right over your name. In there. So should we? Just walk
No. There. That's not even funny.
20 minutes each?
I'm watching you, Dr. Walters. I was not in control. I was controlling when I was in the classroom. 3 minutes. So she will give you a one. She'll say go. As soon as you start talking, she'll give you a 1 minute sign, which means you have 1 minute left. That means you finished up 2 minutes. And then she'll give you a stop sign. And if you continue on after that, I will enforce you what my mother told me not to do in public, and that is maybe embarrass you. I will just politely invite you to time is up. Please finish the thought and sit down. Okay? All right. We're going to have fun. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. I know.
It's easy for you to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin in about 1 minute. 1 minute. If you could find your way to your seat, we will begin promptly in 1 minute's time. Please come, be seated, and get ready for tonight's program. Thank you. Looks like the mic is adjusted by twisting it, but it's also corded. So if the bottom, okay. But don't walk off. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our meet and greet of our candidates for City Council and the mayoral candidates for the City of Provo. We acknowledge and appreciate our candidates. It takes a brave soul to enter the glass house of public service, and these folks have willingly done so. And so we ask for your respect as we go through tonight's program. You'll have an opportunity following the program to Q&A them directly one-on-one at their booths. My name is Cameron Martin. I am the chair-elect to the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce and Vice President for University Relations at Utah Valley University. So it's my pleasure and privilege to be here with our great candidates and you, our great community members. This evening's program is being sponsored by the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce and Provo City. We'd like to thank Provo Recreation Center for providing this beautiful venue. Isn't it great? It is great. Let's make sure you're all. Thank you. We'll begin officially our program tonight with a Pledge of Allegiance following an invocation on tonight's proceedings. The pledge will be offered by Kimber Pritchard. She and her husband Chad are the owners of Oregano. If you haven't been to that Italian restaurant at 223 West Center, you got to get there quick. It's a great place. So with that, we'll invite Ronna Ralph to come up, who is our CEO of the Utah Valley Chamber, to offer the invocation, after which Kimber Pritchard will help us lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ronna?
Our dear, kind Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the opportunity to come together as a community and to learn about one another's points of view and priorities as they seek to lead our community forward in the various city races that are being voted on over the next few months. We pray, Father, for open minds, open hearts, and a respect for one another and one another's opinions and passions. And we pray, Father, that the candidates will be watched over and blessed for their willingness to serve our community and to invest and be willing to take that risk in their own personal life. We pray for these things and ask these favors and blessings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ronna and Kimber. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here tonight. We appreciate that this process of this is going to be a long night. Democracy is hinged upon your involvement. So thank you for being here. So here before you are our mayoral candidates. We're going to do in two phases. We'll first hear from our mayoral candidates, and then we will switch places with our city council candidates. The mayor candidates will be asked to go back to their tables so that after the program, they can be questioned by you, our audience participants. And then as well as the same with our city council candidates. Each candidate in both phases will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves to us as our community members. All candidates will be looking towards Amanda. Amanda, would you stand so that folks see where you're seated? She's seated up here on front, so you watch. We have 3 minutes. She will then, when you start talking, you'll see the green sign that says start. When you have 1 minute left, therefore you've used up 2 minutes, or we'll have 30 seconds left, you will be signaled. They did a change up on me from the last one. It's not April Fool's. Anyway, you'll have 30 seconds left to conclude your thoughts. If you go beyond that, she will hold up loud and boldly the stop sign. If you go on and continue to ignore her, you're going to ask me to do something my parents told me never to do, and that is to criticize somebody in public, and I don't want to do that. I want to praise you in public, right? So please don't put me in harm's way. I would do it kindly, by the way, but let's not test the water, shall we? All right. So thank you, Amanda, for that very, very much. We ask all of you, audience members, to please be courteous. This is not a Q&A. This is not a chance for a debate. This is merely our opportunity here straight from our candidates. So the candidates' names were put into a bowl and drawn out by chamber volunteers, and they are now seated in that order from our left to right. So Sherry Hall Everett will be our first candidate, followed by Kevin Wing, Eric Speckard, Elliot Craig. Has he arrived? Howard Stone is on his way. He was stuck in traffic coming from Salt Lake. If he gets here in that order, we'll insert him. If not, we'll at the end. Odell Miner, Larry Walters, Michelle Kafusi, and John Fenley. I will announce their names again as each candidate takes the microphone. We will now begin, and I will be seated over there, candidates, so I'll be there to moderate from the far table. First up, Sherry Hall Everett, please.
I'm much more comfortable here rather than there. My name is Sherry Hall Everett. I want to first say thank you to the Chamber for this opportunity to come and address you. And I want to say thank you to the candidates for your willingness to jump into this messy thing called democracy that we do. It's wonderful. We're all here to serve. And I want to thank you for being here tonight. As I look out over this audience, I've seen many of you at the meetings and the gatherings, and I'm excited that you're still coming and learning more. You know, we love this community, and we're here to make a decision tonight. As we start to gather that information, we need to decide who's going to serve us as our next mayor. We all have different levels of experience. And I believe, as Malcolm Gladwell said, that to have expertise in something, you need to put in 10,000 hours of good practice, of doing it right. That's something that I've had the privilege of doing as I've served this community for the past 16 years. And over that time, I've gained experience in redevelopment, in economic development, in business, in transit, in transportation, in affordable housing, and in taking care of those in our nonprofit sector. I've spent a lot of the time in our neighborhoods as well. We all have different experience. Each of these people here that are here have differing stages of their experience as well. They may have 1,000 hours. They may have 2,000 hours. They may have 5,000 hours. We need them to keep going, because at the end of this, somebody's going to be elected mayor, and they're going to need the help of every other individual in this room, including any of these candidates here. So we need to work together to create the kind of community that we want as we move forward. One of the great opportunities and challenges that we have in Provo is that we are part of a growing area, and we need to figure out how to do that gracefully, how to do that intentionally, how to do that without putting at risk what we really love about this community. I believe that if we do it well, we'll have money to fund our schools. We'll have money to be able to take care of the infrastructure of our city. We'll have money to be able to do the things that we need to do, and we can do it frugally. But we've got to be able to grow gracefully. I hope that you will follow me on Facebook. We have a lot of discussions there. You can go to my website, learn more about that experience that I'm telling you that I have, and I am happy to answer your questions. Go ahead and contact me there, but right now I feel like I am the only one in this race that is prepared for Provo's unique problems, and I believe that I am what Provo needs next in a mayor. Thank you.
All right, my name is Kevin Wing. They call me the Wingman. Any veterans out there right now? Anyone served our country? Anybody? No? If not, thank you to those who have. Thank you very much. I'd like to get started and say thank you for coming out. I know a lot of you have busy schedules. A lot of people like to keep busy. But thanks for coming and be a part of our community. My biggest platform, I'll pitch it again, teen suicide. Teen suicide is on the rise. They're using social media, putting it on the internet, using it to their advantage. We need to give them a way out. We need to give them an opportunity. So what I did is I came up with an idea that would also take care of our city. An event center. An event center hooked onto an equestrian facility that would give PTS veterans, juvenile delinquents, kids who want to commit suicide a way out. It gives them a place of hope, a place of love and charity. They learn to respect themselves as they learn to respect an animal. This is a proven fact. It's been done years and years upon research upon research. We use dogs now for PTSD veterans, and they're wonderful. Dogs have learned to actually sense when they're going to have an attack. I believe that we can do this to definitely build our community. But not only that, how nice would it be to know that you go to a concert down the street and not have to send your kids to Salt Lake in that nasty traffic? A little bit of peace of mind that they're going to be down the street instead of Salt Lake. I know that sends peace of mind to me. I'd like to say, we have hope for a brighter Provo. We have hope to build a better future for Provo. But when we bring an event center in that can create revenue for their city and give us that hope to be able to be a self-reliant city and not always depend on the people. That's what we want. We want to strive to thrive. That's what we want for Provo. We want to reach out to those who can't reach for themselves and pull them to the top. That's what I'm about. Helping the youth, and empowering the people of Provo is what we have to do. I want the best in Provo. I don't want second to best, we want the best. In order to have the best, we have to act like the best. And I know we can do that. I know we can work together. And thank you so much for your time and your efforts, and please vote for me, and let's soar through the sky together.
Thank you very much. Next, we will hear from our third candidate, Eric Speckbart.
Every one of the candidates is going to thank you for being here. Out of the 115,000 residents of Provo, at least for tonight, this is it, that think it's important enough to be here. So I truly am grateful, even if you don't vote for me, that you're here, that you're trying to make a difference in your neighborhood and your community. The reason I got involved, I moved here in the 80s, went to BYU, started my own business, got married. My wife and I have been self-employed for 28 years. I know what it's like to meet payroll. I know what it's like to have paychecks come and to hold paychecks because you have to pay the others first. I have 5 children. Transparency, every politician talks about it, and almost nobody does it. We need to do a better job of communication. Economic development, Provo's got a lot of good things going. We need more. We're growing. It's no surprise that we're growing. People want to be here. It's a great place to live. If you're concerned about transient and homeless problems, I live in the South Franklin neighborhood. I've been there 25 years this month in my home. Because of where I live and because of opportunities of service, there is no one in this city that has worked and served with the homeless and the transients more than me in the last 25 years, period. That's not because I'm a wonderful, superhuman being. It's because that's where I live, and I think as each of us as citizens do in Provo, we reach out to others. I have way more opportunities because of where I live and where my wife and I have chosen to live. We need to really focus on the issues, and it needs to come from the neighborhood. I've gone to neighborhood meetings. We've had some neighborhood meetings that have 20 or 30 people, and we've had neighborhood meetings that have 2. So my plea for each of you this evening is to make sure that you go home, look at everyone's website. Sure, I'd like you to look at my website, but look at everyone's website. There is a lot of talent here, unbelievable talent, and craziness to even be up here. Ask any of our spouses. You know, they think, what are you doing? It's because we care, and I know that you care. So please go to our websites and look at the issues. The other thing I would conclude with is, if I don't win, I still need to support one of these people. I'm sick and tired of people saying, well, I didn't like this, I didn't vote for this, so now I'm going to make it fail. Please vote.
Our next candidate, Elliot Craig, is not here. Therefore, we'll go to Mr. Howard Stone, who has arrived. Thank you, Mr. Stone. Just for a reminder, Mandy out here in front will give you a 30-second nod when you have 30 seconds left of your 3 minutes. And if you use that up, she'll show the red flag there for you to finish your thought and pass the microphone on. The floor is now yours.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm in this because I've been a watchdog of Provo City government and politics for ever since I woke up maybe 20 years ago and realized things are going on in town. I'm very disappointed with the lack of transparency in the current administration. Closed-door meetings, secret votes, using our utility bill as a place to raise our taxes. He says, I haven't raised our taxes. Yes, you have. You put fees on our utility bill. You've invented new fees, and you've raised the fees that we've already had. We're paying for iProvo at least twice. We taking credit for naturally occurring phenomenon for the #1 service area in the nation. Well, I wouldn't attribute that to any mayor that's ever served here. I would attribute that to maybe the LDS Church or BYU. Taking credit for the best place to raise a family. That's not because of a mayor. #1 place to start a business? I don't think so. I'd have to thank Ray Norda. I'd have the founder of Novell. I'd have to thank Alan Ashton, the founder of, WordPerfect. these two gentlemen, in their time 30 years ago, have created this marvelous environment in Utah County we now call the Silicon Slopes. I know because I've worked in Silicon Valley and I've worked here on the slopes for all of my career since I graduated from BYU with a master's degree in '93. I've traveled the country. This is one of the greatest places to live in the whole United States. I've lived and worked in Asia and Canada. No, there's fewer places in the world that have anything on Provo, Utah. But we're trying to turn Provo into other places. This is not Rome, Italy. People are moving here and working here and made this the Silicon Slopes because of our family values and morals. We don't need to, the world is coming here because they like the way we are, not because we're changing to be some other place. We have allowed government to get away from us a little bit here, and the mayor says he's a great communicator, but the way they brought BRT down on our heads, we didn't deserve that. Thank you very much for your attendance here tonight and your consideration of all of these candidates. Thank you. My name is Howard Stone.
Candidate tonight is Odell Weiner. The floor is yours now, Mr. Weiner.
Thank you, Cameron. It's a pleasure to be here. It's great to see so many of you assembled. Some years ago, just a few years ago, actually, I completed a term on the Parks and Recreation Board, Advisory Board to the city. That was a great opportunity for me to stay involved with Provo City. We built this facility during the time I was a member of the Parks and Recreation Board. This is the most I've ever seen here in terms of a gathering. Been here to receptions, been here to social events, but this is marvelous to see so many of you here. And my compliments to you, along with the other candidates, for your interest and your support of those of us who are seeking the office of mayor. I was elected some years ago as a city commissioner in Provo. That was a singular opportunity for me to be involved in the community. Some of you may not be familiar with the commission form of government, but you need to look no further than the county to know that cities also used to be commission forms of government. I do strongly support the change that occurred in the early '80s to a council mayor form of government. And I'm fully prepared to move forward as mayor and serve in that capacity with this new form of government. One of the great advantages the mayor-council form of government brings is more representation. And I see that here, although most of us here tonight, I think, are associated with one of the campaigns. There are a few that are here seeking information and looking at options in terms of voting. I feel very strongly about the neighborhood program and the involvement of each of your neighbors. You will be the leaders in the neighborhood. And it is key that we engage and make decisions at that level, and that we're prepared at that level for some of the exigencies that may occur. I'm also pleased to know that the council always in making decisions, and thank you, Mr. Sewell, as the chairman of the current council, for acknowledging neighbors and making decisions that affect the neighbors with them present. Unfortunately, we have decisions that are made when we haven't always involved people to the extent that we should. So I commend you again for being here. I'm happy to be a candidate. I was invited to be a candidate, and I'm pleased to be here with these other well-qualified individuals and to seek your vote and to ask for your vote as we approach the polls in this coming primary election. Thank you very much.
The floor is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Cameron. He's learned a lot since he was in my class. So, I've been committed to public service for over 30 years. I'm a retired faculty member. I've taught public managers and civil servants on 5 different continents, from international organizations down to very small towns. My emphasis in life is public service. And I happen to think Provo is a great place to live. I think it's a great place to raise a family. I think the mayor and the city council have accomplished a lot over the last 8 years. But I also think the world is changing, and that the changes within Utah County and at the state level will bring both new opportunities and some very real threats to our quality of life. I'm committed to a future for Provo as a safe and prosperous place to raise families and to secure economic opportunities. To secure Provo's future, there are things that we need to do as a community and things that city government needs to do. As a community, we need to strengthen our neighborhoods. We need to get Provo growing in ways that strengthen neighborhoods rather than undermine them. We need to expand the role of neighborhoods. I think we need to rethink and elevate the role of neighborhoods in both planning and carrying out city programs. I think the city government needs to revisit our funding strategies. What has worked in the past will not continue to work in the future. We cannot continue to shift the burden of government to our utility users forever. We have to fund essentials, but we have to do it in ways that don't crush our residents and our businesses. I think the second thing the city needs to do is focus on results. City resources should be targeted on achieving the goals that the City Council sets. Program management within the city should be based on evaluation and evidence, not hype and hope. As I mentioned, I am committed to public service. I believe that Provo can accomplish great things, but we have to recognize how the world is changing, and we have to be prepared for it. I ask for your help to secure Provo's future. I'm committed to these goals that I've articulated, and I ask for your vote as mayor. Thank you.
Our second candidate tonight that will put on is Michelle Kafusi. I'm going to put our city council candidates on notice. We have one more mayoral candidate, after which we'll have a 3-minute changeover and have our city council members come forward, so please be ready. The floor is now yours, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you. It's such a treat for me to be here tonight. As I look out into the audience, I recognize many of your faces as I've been out knocking doors. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting. It's a great opportunity to bring us all together and let us express our voice and our views. Thanks to the Rec Center. This is a beautiful building. I, too, was a neighborhood chair for the Rec Center when it was being put on the ballot. And it's a gemstone for our city. I also want to thank all of you who've taken the time to come out tonight. I know there's a lot going on in everyone's lives, so thank you for making the time. It tells me that you care about who's going to lead your city. And so I'm going to tell you why I'm the one that needs to lead this city. I'm Michelle Kafusi. I'm running for Provo Mayor. My vision for our community is to keep Provo strong. I'm homegrown. I was born and raised in Provo. I know these streets better than anyone. I had the opportunity to go back east after I was married, and our whole goal from after about 6 months of living in Philadelphia was to work our way back so that our children could have the Provo experience. First, I want to talk about a couple of points that are really personal to me and strong. First, I'm a believer in strong fiscal management. I understand the city's revenue, our taxes, which are your hard-earned dollars. My record in public service proves that I am a candidate that will hold the line on out-of-control spending. We must take care of our needs before our wants. This is, if you ask any of my kids that are sitting out there, they hear that all the time. Is it a need or is it a want? We must take care of our needs before our wants. When I worked for a tech company here in Provo, I was the office administrator, and my #1 job was pay the bills, pay the employees. Then after that, we took care of other things. Second, I want to keep our neighborhoods strong. I have loved knocking the doors and seeing your faces, and there's nothing like face-to-face time, sitting on your front porch and hearing the concerns. Every neighborhood is unique. Every neighborhood is special. Every neighborhood has its own special needs. And the thing I've noticed the most is neighbors know each other and they care about each other and they celebrate their successes amongst each other. And I really appreciated getting to know so many of you. And we're not done. We're going to get this whole city done. Third, I want a strong economy for Provo. And fourth, I want strong engagement. I want you to have a seat at the table. That's probably the #1 concern I've had at the doors is they feel like they aren't being heard. So I will, as your mayor, bring you to the table. I've been a public servant for 16 years. I'm in my 2nd term on the Board of Education for Provo. I've held other city offices and worked on multiple community councils. And I encourage you to get out. Well, you don't have to get out this time. Go to your mailbox, get the ballot, and vote for Michelle Kafusi. I will not disappoint you.
Thank you, Michelle. Our final mayoral candidate is John Fenley. Ladies and gentlemen, as he comes forward, we'd like to remind you that tonight's proceeding is being recorded and will be shared at provo.org. Mr. Fenley, the floor is now yours.
Thank you. My name is John Fenley. I have a fairly unusual platform. I intend to try to disincorporate the city. A lot of people, when they hear that, they don't know what it means. They're a little bit afraid. It's less stressful than it sounds. Essentially what it is, the Provo City Code is 1,500 pages. I printed it out. It's over there on my table. That's friction that we deal with here in Provo City. It is probably part of the reason why businesses haven't moved here. It's difficult to get things done with all that friction. There are some of those laws in that 1,500 pages that I think go too far, like the camping ban, where it's going to be selectively enforced against the homeless. I don't agree with that. I think it's terrible that passed with so much opposition there in the city council room. With this incorporation, the process is gathering signatures. When enough signatures are gathered, a vote is held. If the vote passes by a 50% majority, the city winds down its affairs, sells all of its assets to pay all of its debts, and then everything else goes to the school district. And then we're part of the county. Now, I think being part of the county would actually be good for us. Right now, we have this limited perspective. We're kind of fenced in by our border. But the county is growing. Provo City is stagnating because of the code, some of the micromanagement that's been happening here. So I think we'd be better off as part of the county instead of in a city. It's just not, I think we'd be better off. We haven't kept up with that growth. And as part of the county, we wouldn't be competing with Lehigh anymore because they're part of Utah County. The whole county is getting better, and we'd be part of that a little bit more. A little bit about me. I'm an inventor, an entrepreneur, an innovator. I come up with very strange, out-of-the-box ideas that sometimes sound a little bit strange. But I think just having those options available gives us new perspective and new power that we can use to kind of formulate where we want to go. I, in the past, have fought for net neutrality. I have sued the city a couple times over some of the things that they've done. And I've invented some of the technologies that probably a lot of you like some of the tech behind VidAngel. I have some other inventions that I think will change things. Vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, remind you that our candidates will now be moving, our mayor candidates for mayor will be going to their tables, and our candidates for city council will be coming forward. As they do, would you please join me in thanking these candidates for putting themselves out there for us to hear this outcome. We invite our city council candidates to please come forward. We remind the audience that we have drawn their names randomly out of a jar and to place them in order in which they will address us. We will resume our program in about 2 minutes.
Second chair, Western area. All right. You can slide a little bit or stagger. All right, David Hardy. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We will begin the next phase of our program with our city council candidates. We remind everybody that tonight's proceedings are being recorded and will be shared at provo.org. And we also like to thank again the Chamber, Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce, for hosting tonight's event, the Provo Rec Center, and other volunteers who have assisted in putting on tonight's production. Again, my name is Cameron Martin. I'm chair-elect for the Provo Chamber in their board of directors, and also vice president for university relations at Utah Valley University. It's my privilege to be here with you tonight. We thank you for the time that you're taking to listen to our candidates. The order in which we will now be hearing our city council candidate is the following, and they are seated in that order from left to right, from your left to your right. First will be David Hardy. He is running for District 5. He will be followed by Wesley Marriott. He is running citywide, followed by George Hantley, District 2. Our fourth candidate is David Sewell. He's running citywide. Our fifth
Candidate is Tanisha Zandanella. Thank you. District 5. Sixth is Hunter Phillips, citywide. He is followed by Mike Rome, citywide, and followed then by David Clark, District 2. It is our understanding that Leo Wines is not here tonight and won't be participating. With that, we will now invite David Harding to the podium and to give his 3-minute introduction to his platform and his campaign. Feel free to take the microphone and roam the stage. The time is yours once you begin talking.
Thank you. Voting is a civic responsibility, but voting is not enough. We need to be informed voters. And for that, I appreciate everyone who has come out tonight. I appreciate those who are watching live, as well as those who will be watching this video later on. I also believe that we need good choices at the ballot box in order to have a vibrant democracy. And I want to thank all of the mayoral candidates that we've heard from. I'd like to thank the I'd like to thank the city council candidates as well, particularly Tanisha, who is running with me for the District 5 seat. It's great to have choice. Choices is necessary in our democracy. So a little bit about myself. I was elected 2 years ago to finish the 4-year term of the previously elected council member who tragically passed away during his term. So this is my second campaign, and in just 2 years. My campaign slogan is principles, vision, and leadership. And that's how I approach my service on the council. I stay true to principles. I try to look out for long range, for the long range when making decisions and weighing options and looking at the long-term good for the community. And then I attempt to use leadership to build consensus and to evaluate the options that are before us. I am trained as an engineer and as a scientist. And as an engineer, I'm trained to look for elegant solutions to difficult problems. And as a scientist, I've been trained to question assumptions and to look to data to help to find the best solutions. And I've been able to use those skills in my service on the council. Another very important thing to me is transparency. It's been talked about already tonight. I can say, thank you, I can say, I can point you to my blog, which is Provo District 5 at blogspot.com, and that has pre-meeting previews as well as post-meeting reports. And you can see there my thinking behind pretty much every vote that I've taken on the council. It's a great way to stay informed on what's coming before the council. And so that transparency is there, and I can tell you where I'm at on the issues, but really it's all there, and that's what I'm running on is my record that I already have. So thank you very much.
Our council candidate is Wesley Marriott, who's running citywide.
Thank you. I'm Wesley Marriott. So I'm so grateful that all of you are here. I feel like the more people I talk to, the more they want to be involved, and they just don't know how to. I want to just tell a story. 3 years ago, I got assigned on a consulting project in New York City on Wall Street. It was 14 Wall Street, and it was right there on the New York Stock Exchange. And you walk out, and you're like, wow, this is pretty intense, high density, craziness. And once I got past the high density and the smell of sweaty hot dogs, I realized that there's a lot of good happening in that city. They've got amenities, they've got needs being met, all these good things, right? But the more I walked around those things, I realized they missed one core thing. And I'd come home on the weekends to Provo, and there was not the community, the neighborhood feel that we have here. It's incredible, the family-centric, the neighborhoods, the good feeling that we've created over years and years. And that is why people like me who are younger want to stay in Provo, because we continue to perpetuate this great feeling of community. With that, there's definitely room for improvement. I personally, as a small business owner now, have seen and talked to many businesses that have left Provo over different regulations, different ordinances that have passed, and they've said, well, there's too many permits, there's too many things, I'm going to go to Spanish Fork. One of them was Abigail's Bakery. Another one is Mint Solar that says there's 20 different permits that we have to go through to get this, and each one costs $200, and then I'm not making any money by the end. I feel like if we continue to micromanage all the businesses, small or big, we won't have the economic growth that we need. Also, under the City Council's watch, the debt ratio has increased. We need to be fiscally responsible. We need to make sure that we're actually holding the line there. And then the last thing I want to talk about in my last 30 seconds is this city needs somebody to bridge the gap from communication. They've done a really good job. Dave Sewell, Dave Harding, I've read their stuff. It's really good. And the information's out there. There's a disconnect between that to getting to the people. Most people will not listen to that. No, most people won't read it. Most people won't get engaged. We need to find innovative solutions to fix that. So I'm Wesley Marriott. Thanks for your time.
Our third candidate is George Handley, who is running in District 2. George, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. I'm George Handley, and I'm excited to be running for District 2 for the City Council. A little bit about who I am. I've been teaching at BYU for 19 years in the College of Humanities. We live in the Tree Streets neighborhood, and we've sent our kids to the Wasatch schools and through Timpview, as well as Centennial. And we are extremely blessed and lucky to live where we live and feel a duty to serve this community, and that's really why I'm running. As in my professional life and in my civic service, I've had a lot of leadership experience. I've served as an administrator at BYU for a number of years as a chair of a mid-sized department and as associate dean in the College of Humanities. And so I've had a lot of leadership experience professionally, but I've been very engaged in the civic sphere since I moved to Provo. And more specifically, as it pertains to Provo, I've been very involved for the past 7 years on the Sustainability and Natural Resources Committee of the City of Provo, where we've worked hard to develop some programs for clean air, where I actually was able to get a donation from the Nature Conservancy of $85,000 to help the City of Provo study how to protect and preserve agriculture within our city limits. And also, I've been involved with the Rock Canyon preservation efforts since the very beginning in very key stages of that process up to the present. So I'm very passionate about civic service and very grateful to have this opportunity to try to extend that service into the City Council. My candidacy is really defined by stewardship, and I think of that in 3 different ways. And I think of stewardship primarily as a responsibility for future generations. We need to be thinking very seriously about how we grow in this city in terms of our impact on the natural environment. Our population is going to be the size of Salt Lake by 2050. Our air quality is going to be in serious jeopardy if we aren't taking serious look at how we can make sure that we reduce our pollution. So I want to be a very serious steward of our natural resources, beginning with our air, but including our land. I mentioned the preservation of agriculture and also our water and our canyons. I want to be a good steward of our cultural resources. It's been mentioned many times that we are a unique and special place in the United States. We're a family-oriented community. We're safe. This is a fabulous place to live and raise a family, and I intend to do everything I can to protect our family neighborhoods while also providing opportunities for people to have other opportunities to move and live here and get a toehold in our economy. And finally, I want to be a steward of our financial resources, and I have run out of time to say more about that, but thank you very much.
Our third candidate tonight is Mr. David Sewell, who's running citywide. The floor is yours.
Good evening. I'm sure grateful to be here and very appreciative of the opportunity I've had this past 3.5 years to serve as your representative. It's been an honor, and I'm giving it everything I've got in your service. I'd just like to introduce myself a little bit. I moved here when I was 17, and I've pretty much been here ever since. I've gone to school here, started a business here, raised my family here. My wife's here tonight. We've raised our 6 children here. I love Provo. I'd like to tell you just a few things that I think I can offer you if you were to elect me in a second term. One is experience, both in business and in government. Second is I'm responsive, very easy to get a hold of. You won't have any trouble calling me, talking to me, making an appointment with me. I also put a lot of effort into communication. I have an email list, a constituent email list that I send an email to twice a month, a few days before each council meeting, showing what's on the agenda, highlighting a few upcoming issues, and I've learned so much from the feedback that I've gotten from you as a result of that communication. I see many of you out there that are on my list, and quite a few behind me actually that are on my email list as well. So that's, I would invite you, if you'd be interested on the way out, to sign up on my email list. I'd love to hear your feedback on the important issues facing our city. Just a few things that I'd like to focus on if I have the privilege of serving you again. Economic development is important to me. Now, that's primarily the responsibility of who you're going to elect for mayor, but I think there's more that the council can do to be supportive in terms of the legislative playing field, in terms of strategic planning, and I'd like to help more in that area. Quality of life is certainly very important and a very encompassing issue that encompasses housing and zoning issues, protecting our neighborhoods, some of the things that George referred to, clean air issues, water supply, all those kinds of things are important to me. I would just like to ask for your support and your vote. I've worked hard. I'm ready to work hard for another 4 years if you would like me to. And my name's Dave Sewell again, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
I also want to express my gratitude to be here tonight. This is such an awesome opportunity. Thank you so much to the chamber and to the other candidates who have put so much time and money up until this. There's a lot of time and money that goes into running, and a lot of passion, and I think that's wonderful. And thank you so much for coming out tonight. We all have very busy schedules, and I'm so grateful to see so many people who are passionate about Provo. My name is Tanisha Zandamela. I am a student at BYU, and I am planning to pursue a master's degree at BYU and then later get my law degree at BYU. I was born just a few miles away from here. My parents went to BYU, I was raised in Washington, and then about 6 years ago, I moved back to Provo to come to school. And it felt like coming home, and I have a lot of passion for Provo. I've had the opportunity to volunteer locally. I've worked with abuse victims, a lot of women. I've mentored at-risk girls, and that's given me a really great opportunity to get out and meet people in the community, but also meet people who are part of an underserved population. I've also worked as the founding executive director of Provo Walks, which is an organization that was created to encourage people to get out and walk more and encourage people to use active transportation more. And because I was on that, in that position, I had the opportunity to be able to go and give my input on walking and at several different committees, including the Bicycle Committee, the Sustainability Committee, and the Transportation and Mobility Advisory Committee. The City of Provo has accomplished so much, but there is a lot of work to be done. I want us to work harder to encourage smart growth in our communities by making sure that current small businesses and their owners feel like their needs are being heard and dealt with, as well as making sure we create a culture where more small businesses and startups can thrive. I also believe in creating more affordable housing, and while Utah does not allow ordinances to be created for rent control, the city has unique opportunities to make sure that housing is more affordable and accessible for all people. I believe that there's a solution for every problem, and I'm a huge fan of compromise. There are many issues that I know directly affect each person in here individually, and there's issues that affect us as a community. And I want to listen to your thoughts, and I want to talk to you about those things. I think it's really important for public servants to listen and to act. May we walk forward together and continue to build and change this community. Thank you.
I definitely state that Tanisha is running for District 5. Our next candidate is Hunter Phillips, running citywide.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for hosting this event. And again, as everyone has said, thank you so much for coming out. So my name's Hunter Phillips. I'm running for the citywide seat. And I actually share a similar origin story to many of my fellow candidates in that I came to Provo almost 10 years ago for school, and the pull of this city made me stay. And now I'm really staying here. But now I run a film production company just down Center Street, and I'm running for this citywide seat for a very specific reason. Now, when I first announced that I was going to run, people said to me, you know that the citywide seat is going to be basically like running for mayor in terms of how much work you're going to have to do. And I said, yeah. Because it's important to me to run for this citywide seat. And that's because I think the role of a citywide council person is slightly different from that of a district representative, but it is so in a meaningful way. Where I think district representatives have to have a laser focus on their individual neighborhoods that they represent, a citywide council person has to be backup for those representatives. A citywide representative shouldn't have a bird's eye view of the whole city at 30,000 feet, but should rather be an advocate for every single neighborhood and be serving backup for those other representatives. I live over in the Joaquin neighborhood right now, and we have bits of District 2, District 5, District 3, all sort of carving up this neighborhood. So when something goes on in our neighborhood, the council knows about it. But I know that there are other neighborhoods across town who don't have the luxury of that kind of representation on the council. And I believe as a council person, it's my job to be an advocate for those places. So that when something's happening in your neighborhood, when something's happening on your street, you don't find out about it 2 weeks before they're planning to do something. You find out the second it comes through a work session, and you're able to have a dialogue with the city council, and you have a representative who you know, because they represent the whole city, will be able to answer your question. And that's critically important to me in running for this race. So to do that, I think opening up better channels of communication are absolutely necessary. And Dave, I think email lists and the blog are terrific and have done incredible work. But I want to piggyback on that kind of work to try to make that communication system a two-way system. so that we can better reach each other and so that you're able to have a voice within the council and do it in a meaningful way. So I'm running for this seat because I truly want to represent all of Provo, and I want to do so by knowing what's happening in your neighborhoods and making sure that the things we love for our neighborhoods don't
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for coming, and thank the Chamber for this. I've been involved with this on a broad range of issues for nearly a decade as a neighborhood chair, a chair of 7 neighborhoods in my part of the city, and the chair of the Neighborhood Advisory Council. I've also been on the advisory board, the Citizens Advisory Board for the Police Department for the last 4 years. I never intended to run for City Council. I was happy serving the city in the roles I had. However, the reason I'm running today is probably best illustrated by a simple analogy. I believe the council's role is to provide certain resources, much like if we were taking a long ocean cruise. The council's job is to determine where we're leaving from, where we're going, when we're going to get from here to there, and then to provide the resources necessary to make that trip. I believe the mayor's job is then to manage the staff that works on the boat to make sure that he deals with all the issues that we face along the way and that we arrive on time and that we're safe. And any problems are solved fairly expeditiously. For the past several years, however, I believe that the council has spent far too much time determining if we're having scrambled eggs or poached eggs for breakfast, and are we changing the linen weekly or daily. I really think that we need to have a council that focuses its primary energies on where the city's going to be 20, 30, 50, 60 years from now. And that's one of the key areas that I think is currently underserved with our council. I'm not going to talk about some of the hot issues. I'm going to talk about what I think are the 90% iceberg issues that are under the surface that really affect all of us in a pretty substantial way. Planning for the future, I mentioned. I think that flows through everything that I'm very concerned about. And it's my overriding concern. We can't just continue to kick the ball down the road with impunity. No decision is, in fact, a decision. Public safety. As I mentioned, I've served on the Police Advisory Board for a number of years. We have the same number of officers in Provo today that we had 20 years ago. We, last year, allocated a head count of 3 to the police department to add officers. But our dispatch staff was so overworked and so in need of help that the police department shifted those 3 head counts to help with the dispatch. With members moving in from elsewhere, we need more help. I believe our budget is in serious concern as well. One simple thing that I'll read to you that I found when I analyzed the budget presented to the council was, in 2017, the enterprise funds were budgeted to spend $119 million, yet they spent nearly $163 million, which missed the mark by about $45 million. I'm concerned about economic vibrancy, business success, and I'm concerned about safety in our city as well. I look for your vote, and I welcome your ideas and suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Our final candidate for City Council this evening is David Clark. Mr. Clark, the floor is yours.
Last the best of all game, I guess. By a show of hands, those here who is from the 2nd District, raise your hand. We got a few here. Great, I'll be talking to you. You are my key constituents, and I want you to know that I, David Clark, have been homegrown, born and raised in Provo. I grew up in a home on Fir Avenue and moved all the way across the street to Cherry Lane. I'm very much aware of our district's concerns and problems, and I feel it's time for me to serve. I very much appreciate Kim Santiago and her service on the council representing our district. She has done a great, great job. And I intend very much to follow in her footsteps and follow her agenda, what she has set up, for that's the way I think our council needs to go. Kim has endorsed me, and at this point, I just want those that are listening and deciding on candidates that I will pledge to follow what Kim has started. I know all of the candidates want a wonderful city. We all want to have the clean air. We all want to have no traffic. That's utopia, but we all know that that all the time doesn't happen. We also know that there's going to be growth. Although I'm not for a lot of big growth, I would be very much in favor of methodical, well thought of growth. We don't need to grow just to grow. I don't want this to be Salt Lake City South. Provo is truly a gem city, and I want to keep it that way. I have been very blessed to live in Provo, and I think I can make a difference to keep this city the city that we want to live in. Again, my name is David Clark. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me thank our host venue, the Provo Rec Center, and their staff for setting up tonight. We'd also like to thank the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce under the leadership of Mayoral. Appreciate what you've done. Tonight, we've also been assisted by Ken Matthews, who runs Habitat for Humanity. Kenneth, wherever you stand, just take a bow. People need to know who you are. She's a chamber ambassador. She gives selflessly to our community. We thank our timekeeper, Amanda Heppery, for her nice work here. We also thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being involved. We appreciate this. Our democracy depends upon your engagement. Will you join with me in appreciating and thanking our candidates one final time? We now invite you to go and mingle and ask your candidates one-on-one. Ask them the tough questions and have fun. Thank you for coming. Drive safe.
That was fun.